Hi, everyone. This is the Culture Study Podcast, and I'm Anne Helen Peterson.
And I'm Jonquilyn Hill. I'm the host of the podcast Explain It to Me from Vox.
What is your read on the dating scene right now?
Ooh, at this current moment.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm forever an optimist, but I will say, I will not lie, as a person who is out here in these single streets, it's not easy. It can be very demoralizing. The highs are high and the lows, oh baby. They are low. They are low.
What are some, we're going to talk about our positionality in relationship to dating in just a second, but I want to hear some of the dating related questions that you've talked about on Explain It to Me, because that's part of the reason that Melody thought that you would be the perfect person for this, not just because you're out there on those single streets.
Okay, so there are two major ones I think of. One is the question we've got is why is dating so bad for men, young men in particular? And I
Yeah.
admit when I first heard that, I was like, wait, what do you mean? But then because I don't know, I think it's very easy to look at the other side of straight dating and to think, oh, you have it so easy. Because I'm like, oh, if I
Totally.
was a man with a job, I'd be married so fast, so easily. But
Yeah.
it's not true. And also, like, yeah, with a job, like the men are struggling, and so that is a
Hmm.
factor. Especially when
Yeah.
you think of how we're often socialized. I think the reality of what society is and what we're socialized to think what society is are two different things, and there's a lot
Yeah.
of catch up and a lot of growing pains.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah.
was this question of if cuffing season is real or not. Are you familiar with cuffing season?
I know. Well, I listened to your episode and I was like, is it cuffing season right
It
now?
is. We are in the midst of cuffing season. So it's this idea that, the weather gets a little colder, you start looking around, you wanna have a boo. Like, I think of it, if we're talking in sports, like, August, September, that's preseason, we're in it right now, and I think of, the finals, the championship as Valentine's Day, like,
Yep.
that is what you're trying to make it to.
Yep. Yeah.
Um
Yeah. Yeah.
and yes, cuffing season is real, but it turns out that, and we'll get to this, but if you're on the dating apps, the best time of year, the best day for you to get on the dating apps is the Sunday after New Year's Day.
It's wild. That's so fascinating, but it makes absolute
Yeah,
sense.
it's a numbers game. If you are single and you want yourself a little boo, pour yourself. If you drink, have a glass of wine. If you don't, grab a seltzer, maybe a LaCroix, and refresh those pictures. And the Sunday after New Year's Day, settle down because the love of your life could be one swipe away.
Okay. So, positionality. I was a serial monogamist through my 20s and 30s in terms of like, I was in grad school, so I moved around a lot. And so that would I would like try to do long distance and then that wouldn't work and then break up and get another boyfriend who was also almost always a graduate student because I would go on the apps and be like, I only am going to sort for graduate students because they're the only people who understand my weird ass life, right?
Yeah.
Like how I relate to work, how I like what my brain is always doing, like how I think about time off, how little money I have, like all of those things. And it was actually one of my relationships that was a huge friction in it because he was a science graduate student and they got so
Mm.
much more money than me as a humanities graduate
Yeah, that'll
student.
do
And I
it.
was like, ah, but I found my current partner who I've been with for over 10 years, uh, in the digital media trenches, like we were working at BuzzFeed. So it was very much a like proximity thing. And I think part of the frustration with contemporary dating is a lot of the different mechanisms that used to allow people to like mingle closely with a lot of people their same age are gone.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Or we just view them a
yeah,
lot differently now.
totally, totally. So that, but I also like as a person who runs a newsletter with lots of people who are writing about their personal lives all the time in the comments, and also saw every single person who wrote in with comments or questions for this episode. I know that there is a ton of frustration, and this is from straight people, from queer people. Especially, I'm hearing it from women, but that's because I think women talk about it a lot more.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what's your positionality to this topic?
Okay, so I've done a lot of dating. A lot of dating. I've had quite a few of what the kids would call now situationships is what
Mm-hmm.
they would
Yeah,
call
yeah,
them.
yeah.
Especially, my 20s. I'm in my mid 30s now. I've also had my fair share of, long-term boyfriends, and so that's been good too, I let relationships run their course, and after they've run their
Mm-hmm.
course, however long that is, it's like, okay, well, it comes to an end, sometimes with some tears, sometimes in a real amicable way, but it is what it is. And
Are
I've
you good at breaking up with someone when the breakup should happen? Like, or do you let it
ooh,
run past the point of expiration?
I think if it's up to me, I will let something run past the point of expiration. I have the fortune and the misfortune of dating men who are like, "Yeah, girl, it is what it is. We've come." And sometimes that like works really well, especially if you've dated a person that's super communicative and you guys
Yeah.
are like actually friends, and it's a thing of like, "Oh, we've been talking about the direction of this for a while. Like, let's constantly
Mhm.
reassess." And then I've also been in this situation where it's blindsided and you're like, "Wait, what do you mean by that?" What?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was good. You weren't? Why didn't you tell me? I asked
Right,
you what was going on and you did not tell me. Not a fan of
right.
that. No.
Yeah. So when I was dating via apps, I was using this dates me so much. OkCupid. It wasn't even an app, it was an online site. What are you using now? What do most people that you know use now?
So I'm taking a break from the apps right now. I'm a firm believer
Yep.
that if your heart is not in it, get off, because if not,
Yep.
it's going to become a game. It's going to become demoralizing. If you feel like doing it, do it. If you don't. When I'm in
Mhm.
the mood, Hinge is where it's at. I feel like Hinge is where the husbands are. Um
And Hinge, does it still work how it works when it first came out, where it's like people who have some sort of like second level connection to you?
No, it's fully unhinged now. Hinge is
Oh, okay.
unhinged.
Okay.
And this happens a lot. Like those first few swipes, like the first couple days you're back in, it's like, oh, we're here. And then slowly your
Yeah.
options change. They
Yep.
hide everyone you would actually want to talk to behind roses. I do think a thing with dating apps is they do want to keep you on to an extent.
Yeah.
Um, that's big
Yeah.
conspiracy brain. But if you talk to the
But
people at the apps, they're like, "No, we do want you to find someone. We
no, but
do."
it's like, planned obsolescence. Like Apple wants you to keep buying the freaking iPhone. So of course they're gonna make it so the iPhone doesn't last forever. And dating apps don't want you to not use the app anymore.
And I often wonder, like, is it the apps that are bad, or are we as people just kind of
I
bad now?
know. I mean both, both.
It's like, and I
Right?
think it's like I don't know if you've read there was a time I read this book called How to Not Die Alone. Um
Oh, I remember it going around.
Yeah, and I do think it makes this interesting point about the Amazonification of dating.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you can get to the point where, if you're buying a vacuum, if I'm about to buy a vacuum, I'm going to read the reviews. I'm going to get the best vacuum available. I'm going to go to
Yeah,
Wirecutter. I'm going to go to Strategist. I'm going to ask my
totally.
friends. If it's not good, I'm going to return it. And I think we do that a little bit with people now. We're
Mhm.
trying to optimize, and you can't optimize everything. You kind of just have to go for it at some point.
Okay, Melody is, like, whispering in my ear that this is a great tee up for our next question. So
Yeah.
before we go any further on that, this comes from Amy.
In thinking about dating and why it sucks so much now, I find myself thinking about optimization and gamification and shorter attention spans. First, with internet dating like Match, and then speed dating, and now apps, it feels like we're looking for shortcuts or guarantees to connecting with someone, as opposed to having some conversations and dates and actually getting to know someone. How is it all connected, and how much is this contributing to why dating sucks?
People are so risk averse, and I get it. Having your heart broken, ooh, I hate it. It sucks so bad. It's physically painful, but unfortunately, it's the only way. Putting yourself out there and trying and just doing stuff is the
Yeah.
only way to do it. But people really don't want to do it anymore. People don't want to take risks. They want to kind of solve a science or a math problem and find the
Yeah.
best person. And it's an art, not a science, unfortunately.
No, and I think that, like, some of the frustration It's not exactly the same, of course, but I see the same conversation happening in frustration with making friends in your
Mm.
20s and 30s, right? Because it's the same thing of like, where do I find them? I wish that they would just appear. And I think that in our teens and in our 20s, we are in situations that make it a lot easier to connect with people just by proximity, by not having as many like inputs in our life. And that makes it easier to make strong friendships, but it also like makes it easier to have long conversations with someone that might turn into like
Mhm.
there's more time for flirting. Like who has time for flirting now, right? Like in an optimized life, flirting is not something that like there's not a lot of space for, similar to just like hanging out with friends.
Yeah, I feel like people treat the stakes like they're very high. I hear that even from younger people, like people in their 20s,
Mhm.
where it's just like, but I don't want to waste my time and I don't want to. And it's like, if you, and this is something I have to remind myself too, if you enjoyed yourself for a period of time, if you learned something about
Mm.
what you do like, what you don't like, if you learned something about yourself, if you have an experience, it's not a waste of time. Like,
Right, right, right,
sorry,
right.
that's plot. You need plot. You're not going to get to the, you need the plot.
I This is so important. I think sometimes we get into this feeling that we all need to be on the so-called relationship escalator. Like
Mhm.
every relationship, like, okay, like I already think it's great within a month. And then within 3 months, I'm like, this is serious. And then like within a year, it's talk for engagement and then marriage and then kids and all the way up, right? And not every relationship has to serve that function in your life. And I actually think I see this reality much more clearly with people who are dating in midlife.
Yeah.
They're not because they're like, we can see what happens. Like, whatever. Like, maybe you're just a person I'm spending time with for a while.
Yeah, I think of dating in my 20s, like even dating in college. And some of this is like learned purity culture of,
Yes.
growing up.
Yes.
But it's like this idea of like, okay, I'm dating for marriage. Like,
Yeah.
is it like every date? It's like, is this a husband? Is this a husband? Are you a husband? Is this a husband? And now
Yes.
that I'm in my mid 30s, I'm a little bit like, marriage, babies, all of that sounds great. But more than anything, I want to date for love. Like, I don't
Mhm.
know. I just find someone you want to ride off in the sunset with on a horse on the beach and like decide what comes next after you finish riding off into the sunset.
I wonder how much of this pressure also, this feeling too of like every date or every relationship has to be like the first step on the relationship escalator, also stems from many, not all, many women feeling like there is a limited time period that they can have children.
Oh
Like
yeah.
that it's like, this is the time where I got to get started. And if I'm not started by then, and that, like, for me, in order to take pressure off of that, like, how do you take some of that, like, release the valve a little bit? There are a lot of things, and some of them cost money, like freezing your eggs or something like that. But, like, that's part of the reason that it feels like such an intense disconnect.
Oh yeah. One thing that I'll do, sometimes I'll Google celebrities that had kids later in life and I'll just be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, Holly Berry was 41, like so
Right.
and so was 37. Janet Jackson, very rich woman. She was in her 50s though, and not everyone wants to do that. But it's just
Yeah.
realizing like, okay, there are all types of ways to come to this. Or thinking like if
Yeah.
motherhood if parenthood is something that you truly desire, like what are the different ways that can happen? Like of course adoption, fostering, there's that, but like is there a way you can mentor? Are there some children you can take? Like what I think sometimes
Yeah.
when we think of parenthood, what we actually desire is we have the desire to nurture someone.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that can look a lot of different ways. I think we have to stop limiting ourselves and let our imagination. And maybe that's cope. Maybe that's me coping, but I'm okay with cope.
Yeah. Do you remember, this is kind of like intertwined with purity culture, but there was this messaging that was definitely coming to me in my like late teens of the way that a boy will come to you is when you love yourself
Oh my
first,
gosh. And that's
right?
even beyond purity culture. Like the amount of times I'm sure so many people listening are like, I want to be with someone. I want to find love. And people, the response is, love yourself. And it's like,
Right.
girl, I will kick you in the throat. Get away from me. Like,
But at the same time, I also like I'm just thinking about like with the desire to like I gotta find someone so I can have a kid. Like a friend of mine So wanted to have a kid, had had horrible dating experiences, that like the clock was ticking down. She was in her late 30s, going into her early 40s, and was like, I'm just gonna have this kid on my own. I'm gonna like I've built a really strong network. I'm gonna have a kid of my own. And as soon as she makes that decision, like to start thinking about like looking for sperm donors and that sort of thing, that's when she meets the guy that becomes the perfect guy.
Yeah.
Like, like it was like she had to like take that pressure off of herself that, yeah, I'm gonna have a baby no matter what. And then the relationship fell into place. Does that make sense?
No, it totally does. And I think it's this fine balance because on one hand, if the reason you're seeking romantic love is to be like, I need to be fulfilled,
Mm,
it's not going to do it. Like, it is going
yeah.
to have to, unfortunately, come from inside. And I know it's like, boo, hiss, but that is true. At the
Yeah.
same time, it's okay to have that desire for a relationship. And that
Yeah.
desire for a relationship doesn't have to be the be all and end all. And I think on the other side, because I know I go through this where it's just like, but why do I want this? Shouldn't I be enough? Ew, yuck. Like, why am ew? And it's like, no, it's okay to want companionship. It's okay to
Yeah.
want love. You just like don't want it to define you. And that's
Yeah.
a hard balance to strike. I think we can be very all or nothing when it comes to that.
Totally. And I think especially like ambitious women
Oh, yeah.
really feel that. How do I be enough for myself, but also like admit this part that I want companionship, that I want a partner? It's really hard. Today's episode is sponsored by ZocDoc. Sometimes finding the right doctor is as hard as finding like a date. Like, don't you think it's kind of similar, Melody? Like,
Yes. The
you
stakes
have
are
to.
much higher.
The stakes are actually they're higher in just a different way. I am actually kind of struggling with this right now with my dentist. Like I've talked on here about how I have struggled to find another dentist because my dentist stopped taking my insurance, and I've gone now to this new dentist twice, but it's just not. The vibes are off. This is not my forever relationship. If you're in a similar situation, and I know a lot of you, beginning of the year, there's just like things that you're like, okay, I'm finally going to find that new eye doctor, or I'm going to make my mammogram appointment, whatever it is. Just go on ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high quality in network doctors so you can find someone that you actually want to be in a relationship with, a long term relationship. We're talking about booking in network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states. So, whether you're looking for dermatology, dentistry, primary care, eye care, or any of the other 200 plus specialties offered by ZocDoc, you can easily search by specialty or symptom. And you can also view thousands of verified patient reviews to give you a real sense of who your doctor is, whether they hate small talk, whether they spend a lot of time with each patient. Whatever it is, you can feel confident that you can book with a doctor that you know that you'll at least like long enough to go see them again. And when you're ready, you can see their real time availability and click to book instantly. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments, cross that item off your New Year's list, and go to ZocDoc.com/culture to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/culture. ZocDoc.com/culture. Thanks, ZocDoc, for sponsoring this message. The Culture Study Podcast is sponsored by Article. Melody, you have Article open in a tab just coincidentally.
Yeah, truly a coincidence. Because we spend so much time talking about Article, you and I'm now getting targeted ads for Article,
Oh, yeah.
which is
Yeah.
introducing me to stuff I didn't know they had. And I'm currently eyeing this really beautiful filing cabinet.
Oh,
It's like 2 drawers. It has rounded edges. It's really cute. And it's way cuter than my current filing system which is just a pile of papers. So I'm thinking I might go for it.
every style, lots of stuff that's actually like high utility, but that will also last because Article takes great care in curating its collection. They focus on these high quality, meaningful pieces like a really good filing cabinet. And this is the other thing is that oftentimes if you bought that filing cabinet somewhere else, it would come in, I'm not kidding you, like 60 different pieces that you would
Right.
need to screw together. Article pieces come almost entirely assembled. Like sometimes there's maybe a knob that you need to put on or something like that. That's it. Article also offers fast, affordable shipping across the US and Canada, this is important, with options for professional assembly if you want the completely hands-off experience. And if you ever need help, they have a great customer care team that is available 7 days a week. With Article's 30-day satisfaction guarantee, you can shop with confidence knowing that if you're not completely in love with your new furniture, you can easily return it. The peace of mind ensures you can invest in your home without hesitation. So if you're in the market for a beautiful new sofa, dining table or bed, or filing cabinet, head over to article.com. Let's talk about a specific method of dating that came up in so many questions. This question comes from Jennifer, and Melody's going to read it.
I have been following Jenny Young's Burnt Haystack Substack and dating strategy, which is ultimately based on the fact that as a cisgender heterosexual woman, the odds are never in your favor. There's simply a depressing lack of dateable, decent men on the dating apps. My question is, do men think about strategies to quote unquote beat the dating apps in a similar way? Or because the odds are always in their favor, do they have the luxury of not having to?
Okay, so Burnt Haystack, do you know about this?
No, tell me all about it.
Okay, so I went down a big rabbit hole. So this woman, Jenny Young, she has a PhD. She's a professor. She is in, I believe, her 50s. And after lots of frustrating experiences with the apps, she did what a lot of, this is so something I would have done. It's like, I'm going to take my like tools of analysis and I'm going to apply them to what I'm seeing happen on the dating apps in terms of like how communication works, all that sort of thing. And what she came up with is this idea that you have to burn the haystack down in order to find the needle in the haystack. And what she means by that is she has like aggressive strategies in terms of not engaging in conversations with essentially like trifling men. And that means like if someone tries to never spend time arguing on an app.
Oh yeah, no.
If like if you swipe past someone and they're just totally not she blocks all the time to try to gamify the app basically, because the more if you actually block someone, then they won't appear again for you to swipe through and waste your time. Someone who like can't set up a date within 2 weeks, block. And like again, not just like ghost, but actually block them. And so you're essentially whittling down again the haystack in order to like arrive at a set of dateable, decent men. And so I'm curious, like, I know you did this episode with the dating coach for men. Like, how are the strategies different? Like, what do you see? Like, when I describe this strategy to you, which is incredibly popular, there's a book coming out, there's a Facebook community with like hundreds of thousands of members. What do you see?
Yeah, okay. Men do have strategies. They may not be the exact same strategies women are employing, but they do have strategies. Also because from men, okay, I'm going to say something that my therapist has to say to me all the time.
Yeah.
Men are people too. They don't always act like it, but they are. They are. They really are. And especially talking to my guy friends, a lot of what they like, yes, we are sifting through. I think my therapist also once described it as not dating in general, but online dating apps. You need to treat it like you are going to TJ Maxx. You are sifting through. You're going to find gems in there, but there's some stuff where it's like, I don't want that. I do not want that either. I do not want that. Those pants are cute. I'll give those a try. Like, you're sifting through everyone in a way that we have never had to sift through. Like, we are running into people where in any other circumstance we would not run into. So it does make sense to kind of like go for it. And men experience the same, but looking at my guy friends apps versus like my girlfriends or like my own when I'm on them, we do get quite a few more likes than they do. So like, I feel like for us, the odds are good, but the goods are odd. And for men, their odds are not as great, but when they do have a connection, they're usually getting better quality.
Okay, so, but I do think we should address why finding a good man can feel like finding a needle in a haystack? Like, why is that feeling there in the first place?
Yeah, I think what it is our socialization has not caught up with society. You know, I think of when my mother came up or when my grandmother came up. Like when my mom was born, it was not legal for a woman to have her own bank account.
Yeah.
Now it is. And not only do we have our own bank accounts, but we're, you know, earning good money. We're now more educated than men. And I think we're in this place now where for so long we have been socialized and men have been socialized to be like, okay, what a woman needs is a man, what she needs is a provider. And now we're in this place where it's like, actually, it's not a need, it's a desire. And needing someone and desiring someone, those are going to be two very different skills. Like one is going to be like, I have a job and I show up and I'm here. And the other is I'm kind and I'm loving and I contribute in this emotional way. And I think both men and women are catching up to this idea of desire versus need.
Yeah, it makes me think of like there was a point in our not too recent past when a woman without a husband had no social value, right? Like
Yeah.
they were shunned from society. And like you said, we have not changed the way that we think about like standards and that sort of thing that much since then. Like it's not enough just to be someone who can marry me and make me like an upright woman or whatever, a respectable woman. There have to be other understandings as well.
Exactly.
So we're approaching this question as straight people. I think like if you are a person who's queer or who's looking for has anything that limits your pool or diminishes your pool, makes your pool smaller in some way, I think about how much harder it gets. Like, and we're going to talk about this later with people dating in smaller towns, but like when the pool gets smaller, like you can't burn if you burn your haystack down, it's not like you're going to find the needle. You're just going to have a burnt haystack.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the key may be for us to get off the apps, you guys. Not permanently, but like
yeah.
I think we have to touch grass because just the way we sort of like swipe through, analyze versus in person, it's like, oh, that person has kind eyes. They smell good. Sure, I'll give them my number versus like on an app and you're just reading through. It doesn't hit the same. I think we have to hit the streets.
Yeah. And there are so many things that like, because of the way that someone texts, like if someone uses a incorrect piece of grammar, I'm like, nope, never could be with them, which is bullshit.
Yeah.
Right. Like people, I could be with all sorts of people who use incorrect grammar, but like I'm using that sorting mechanism, which is of course also like a class-based mechanism.
Yep.
Like there's so many things happening that are preventing you from even like thinking about someone in a certain way.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. Like I'm running into more whenever I'm in a setting and I think like, oh, these seem like nice guys to date. Most of the time they're like, I don't use apps. I approach women in real life. I'm just like, oh, I think it could also be sort of like a self-selecting thing. I don't know. I'm a big proponent. I think we have to connect IRL. I think that's the key.
Yeah. I feel like we're not answering this question, but this is leading us down an interesting avenue of exploration. It does feel, we talked about the fear of getting out there and like discomfort of being in these situations, but the apps, I think, in a really important way, do feel safer. And I'm talking about like physical safety.
Yeah.
Right? Than like fending off annoying guys in a bar.
Yeah. Yes.
And I feel like that it changes as you age. Like I don't think I would have the same experience of fending off men now. But like when you're in your 20s, there is this feeling of like sometimes there is like a menace to the way that people approach you.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there's also there is menace on the apps, of course, but you can block that person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I mean, that's part of it. That's the risk. And I think women are put at a disadvantage when it comes to like that physical risk. And I think men, I don't know, men I think also could do more to take precautions because any woman, straight woman who's been on an app will have a guy be like, oh, come over right now. And it's like, I could be setting you up to rob you. Why are you like, I could walk out of here with your television. Do not, I'm a stranger. But yeah, I like, and I get it. Like the internet is now. There are levels. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This next question also invokes the burnt haystack method, but it raises a different question. Let's hear from Julie.
I stumbled onto the burnt haystack dating method, and even though I've given up dating, I found the rhetorical analysis fascinating. There's a lot of pushback and complaining about women being too picky or too demanding in relationships. Several conservative friends have brought it up spontaneously, but specifically said that women are demanding men over 6 feet. I've never heard a woman say that. I hear about demanding respect, empathy, honesty, etc. Can you talk about the way women having standards is twisted and trivialized? And why right-wing men lie about their beliefs? Do they simply know women want nothing to do with their ideology? Or do they get a kick out of taming and trapping, quote, uppity, unquote, women?
Okay, I love how like the second part of this question kind of comes out of left field. It's like what like I think this person has had experiences
Oh
with
yeah.
right-wing men lying about their beliefs, and then you get like 2 weeks into a relationship and they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I voted for Trump," or whatever, right?
Okay, Julie, don't beat me up. But I have encountered women who say they only want to date men over 6 feet. Or like I do know not an insignificant amount of women who are like, gotta be 6 feet, gotta make 6 figures, gotta be XYZ.
Right. Right,
I
right, right.
think with all genders, the negativity floats to the top. It's sort of that thing of like how you remember a negative experience more than a positive
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And so like it is weird on a lot of sides. Now, I think an issue we run into a lot with dating is that like people go after the people who are not compatible with them. Like
Mm.
you get a lot of pick-me's who are after men who are not into pick-me's. And you get a lot of men who want to quote unquote tame women. And it's just like
Yeah.
that's not who's attainable. The pick-me's and like the men who want pick-me's need to actually align with one another. And for some reason, they go after the group that is not for them. I think that's a
Right.
lot of what we're seeing.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of what we're seeing.
I had Audie Cornish on the podcast a couple weeks ago to talk about this current season of Love is Blind. And one thing that she very astutely noted about this season in particular, but about all of the seasons, is that there is this way that you can like watch women whose identity off the show, you know, like these particulars about like how they've run their lives, like their ambitions, all these sorts of things. And then you watch them performing, like they're inferring a way that these men want them to be. And they're performing that, especially in the pods when like it's pick me, right? It's like I am the person who you should pick. And then they once they get out of the pods and they're no longer like it's no longer possible to continue performing that way because obviously like you're an embodied person now.
Mm-hmm.
And you like go home with the person, you like try to live with the person, like it falls apart. And that it smashes together, right? Like the relationship falls apart in that moment because the performance falls apart.
Yeah. The advice my mother has always given me is like, and this, doesn't apply to everyone, but she's always like, always date for someone at least a year before you start like being like, okay, we're going to get married because you need to see them in all seasons, but also after years when it starts to get real, where like the facade and the performance of the, oh, baby, like, oh, you're so great. Oh, I'm going to do that's when it starts to fall apart. And I think there is a performance aspect to every dating situation, but I think even more now. Like, I don't know. I see all these things and I try to clean my algorithm of them, but it's like, oh, step into your femininity because that's what's going to attract a man, or like, oh, the masculinity, the da. And I think a lot of people play into that, and because they're playing into that, they're trying to force the women and men they are actually attracted to into being that. Like, if you're like, I want a woman who's going to like submit in this particular way and da.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, find that. And it's like, no, I want a baddie actually, though. Like, can I force the baddie to be that? And it's like, you can't force the baddie to be that. You're either going to have to take the baddie as she is or not be with the baddie.
Right. And I think there is this women often are told that like you can socialize a man to become the man that you want him
Oh,
to be,
yeah. Yeah, we're definitely
right?
told that. But I think
Ugh.
as we get older, I'm like, if a man tells you something, believe him. It is
Believe him.
read it whatever it says on the package and what it is. People can change.
Yeah.
People can change, but don't bet on that. Whatever, it's exactly what it says on the tin. That man is how he is. You can change haircuts. You buy that man a
Yeah.
nice sweater. Now that you can definitely do. But when it comes to personality, girl, that's that man. That is that man.
Do you think, what about this part about standards versus pickiness? How do you parse that?
I think standards is more of a character thing. Like
Mm,
someone who's kind, someone who's smart, someone who's funny. Like to me, that's standards. I think
mm,
pickiness can be like, oh, I don't like their shoes. Like, I don't know. Do you ever watch those Pop
mhm.
the Balloon videos?
No, no, no. Tell me.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I get to introduce you to this. So, Pop the Balloon, it's basically this YouTube series where a single person walks in and lined up are people that they could potentially date. They do it for queer people, straight people, all types of ages. And the people that they could potentially date have balloons. And if something happens where they're like, I don't want to date that person, they pop the balloon and then the host goes up to them and says, why did you pop your balloon? And then once the host says, why did you pop your balloon? The person who had the balloon popped on them can also respond. And so, sometimes the balloon will be popped because it's like, oh, like it's actually quite funny. Like it went viral. This one was like, I want a man of God. One guy was like, nope, pop. Sorry, that's not me. But other times, like the balloon will pop and people will be like, why's your balloon pop? And it's like, I didn't like his shirt. And then it becomes like they
Mhm.
end up just playing the dozens on each other and it's crazy. And I feel like oh, I didn't like his shirt, that is pickiness.
Mhm.
A man of God is a standard. Like that's
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
the difference.
Totally. Like, and that's an ideological standard too. Like, that's something you're not going to change.
Yeah.
Like, someone will be like, "Oh, well, I can make him come to Jesus." Like,
No,
no.
you can't. That man
I
does
mean,
not
maybe
want to go
you
to
could,
church.
but he does not want to go to church, and you're always going to be harassing him to go to church. Yeah. Okay. That's a really good explanation. This next question comes from a specific element of dating that has maybe been accelerated by the apps. This comes from Meg.
My question is about how fast things seem to move in terms of informational intimacy. For one thing, because there's often a lot of texting or messaging before the first meetup, I feel like I have to work hard to save some conversational questions that are appropriate for a first or second date so that we're not just getting together and jumping in with something like, so tell me about your mother wound. Similarly, I also feel like there's a lot of pressure to share a lot of details very early on about my kids, my ex, my friends, before we have a chance to build trust and familiarity. Is this me being overly cautious? Just a product of the digital dating age?
So I think that this is like such an interesting contrast
Mm-hmm.
to people who say the apps they're not deep enough. Like they're too based on the physical or they're too based on first impressions or like sorting according to these various things. But I know what this person is
Oh
talking about.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Like it's just this plunge into like, okay, tell me everything about you. Like where did you grow up? What was it like when you were in high school that you haven't even met in person yet?
Yeah. I think I don't think you're being overly cautious. I think it's okay to
Yeah.
be like, can we meet up first? Can we have a beverage? And I
Yeah.
think different people will have different standards. Like I know I like a good in the parlance of Love Island, I love a good chat. So like, I want a little text back and forth. I don't want it to be too deep. I want you to be funny. I want to see a
Yeah.
meme. That's the vibe. Other people are going to be like, so what's the deal with kids? What's this? What's this? And
Yeah.
other people are going to be like, hey, I liked your profile. Want to grab a drink? And I think that's another way you find people that you're aligned with. But I do think it can be a lot very early. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can just be like too much too quickly. And I think that's, again, sort of that optimization where you're like, okay, but do you align and what's the math problem? And I don't know, like my favorite question to ask on a first date is, and you have to do it like sort of casually, but I was like, oh yeah, what brought you to the apps? What are you looking for? Versus like so what are you looking for? Like, and you have to, I think that's a factor too.
Yeah. No, that's such a good point. I do think like keep it at whatever your level you're comfortable with. It's a lot easier for people to just keep texting, right? Because it's like a dopamine hit of like, oh, this person I'm curious about is texting me. I can respond in whatever careful way that I want, and I don't have to meet them in person yet. So it's easy to stay there and to keep having those conversations when, like, take that jump and meet them in person.
Yeah. Just like grab that coffee, grab that drink, get an app.
We should also at this point, I think, emphasize that like this is not a binary between texting and meeting up in person at a bar. Like the phone exists. The phone is a magical tool, not just for texting. Like the phone voices can be really important. Or Zoom, right?
Yeah, I think we forget that part. Like you can pick up the phone, you can FaceTime, you can. I mean, I like to move on to like let's meet in a public place, but like it's totally reasonable to be like, I want to talk on the phone first. I want to see the vibe. I want to do a FaceTime call. I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Today's episode is sponsored by ZBiotics. So we had a great thread on the newsletter last week that was all about small, silly, highly achievable things that you're doing in your life, right? Like basically fun goals for the new year. Either stuff that like you're already kind of doing every day, or that would be like a small change that you could do. So one thing, this is not on my list because I already have been doing this. I have things to do for the new year. But one really great thing that you could do if you find yourself completely stymied by the feeling after having 1 to 2 drinks, which AKA we're old now and 1 to 2 drinks can make you feel like crap in the morning. A very easy way to prevent that feeling, which often just like throws you off of your game, you try out ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's the buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for those rough days that throw you off after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme that breaks this byproduct down. So the small thing that you can do is just take pre-alcohol as your first drink of the night, then drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best the day after. If you're ready to give this small but achievable goal a try, go to zbiotics.com/culture study now. You'll get 15% off your first order when you use culture study at checkout. Plus, it's backed by a 100% money back guarantee, so there's no risk. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/culture study and use the code culture study at checkout for 15% off. The Culture Study podcast is sponsored by Remy. If one of your goals in 2026 is taking your health seriously, a huge part of that is figuring out whether or not you're grinding your teeth while you sleep. I think like at least half of the people I know are teeth grinders, and they know they're teeth grinders. Like they wake up with the pain, just radiating pain from their jaw, headaches. Like they know it. They don't want to go through the rigmarole of going to the dentist, getting the bite guard. Like just they have so many other things going on. So whenever someone tells me that they're dealing with this year I'm telling them about Remy. Remy's custom night guards are clinically tested and FDA cleared to prevent teeth grinding, reduce jaw tension and facial muscle strain, and improve sleep quality. Huge. All of these things are huge. You'll get the same professional quality and comfort as a night guard from the dentist, but Remy costs you 80% less and is much more convenient than having to go to the dentist's office. Here's how it works. You receive your impression kit straight to your door. You follow Remy's step-by-step instructions to get your perfect impression. Remy then crafts and ships your custom-fit night guard. You get it back, and you start wearing it. The end. Start the new year right and use code CULTURE to get 50% off your purchase of a new night guard. That's 50% off at shopremi.com/culture with code CULTURE. Thank you, Remy, for sponsoring this episode. Next 2 questions we're going to read together. They're about location. I'm so interested in this. The first one comes from Nina.
The apps have definitely made dating culture worse, but how does the metro area you live in influence your dating success? Whatever success really means. I've been out of the dating game for a long time, 7 years. but did meet my last partner on an app, so it's not foreign to me. I just moved from the place I'd been living for 10 plus years back near my hometown, and it feels like it's actually slim pickings. I could have thrown a rock out my window and hit 5 of my type walking by where I was living before, but now it seems hard to find anybody in that realm, which is quite literally just, are they taller than me and not obsessed beyond all belief with the gym? Like, even in the outside world, let alone an app. Both places are on the West Coast, relatively similar politics, and my new / old home, but current home, has many times the population of the former one. Can you kill your dating odds based just on where you are, or are there really some options for anyone with reasonable expectations in any highly populated area?
So I should just say, from that question, I'm inferring that she's in like at least a mid-sized city.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, second question comes from Naomi.
I'm 41 and have been single and dating most of my life. It feels like now, at this age, there is a real imbalance with the genders. Like there are far more hetero women out there than men. Women always seem to be expected to, quote unquote, settle. Are there really more women than men in most cities? How?
No. Okay. So let's talk about location.
Mm-hmm.
I love this question because we also got a bunch that we couldn't include that were like, oh my gosh, I live in Wyoming. What the fuck am I gonna
Yeah.
do? Every single picture is of a guy on his four-wheeler. And here's what I'll say as someone from a place like Wyoming, is like some of those guys on their four-wheeler, what they're doing is they don't want to distinguish themselves from other guys. Like they're not trying to perform a different sort of identity. They've grown up there like this is the dominant form of masculinity. But at the same time, they're interesting. There is like an interesting dude there, you know? So you
Yeah.
have to get past your own the ways that you've been socialized to think of like, what does an interesting dude look like?
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Like judging books by their covers, so on and so
Yeah.
forth. Because, you know, you see that guy holding a fish and it's like, okay. But maybe if you go out to eat, you go out and you're like, have a nice time. You're like, oh, he's a lot more than that fish he's holding.
Totally. And like, I like going fishing. So I would like that guy. What do you think about like on more of the mid-size city level? Have you dated like different places? Like, do you have any experience
So
with that?
I have spent my entire adult life in DC. I moved here when I was 19 and no, I was 18. Wow. Not me.
Wow.
Yeah, I moved here for college. And I will say, I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico, not a large black population. You know, I've always been like, I want to partner with someone, preferably a black man. And honestly, I was like a 15-year-old sophomore in high school. And I had the sense then where I was like, oh, to have the social life and dating life I want, I need to leave Albuquerque. And that's when I was like, well, I'm going to an HBCU and a big city. And it's like, yeah, sometimes you got to make that move for like.
Were you like, oh my gosh, my options?
Yeah, I
Like,
was a
is
little
that
bit
what
like, I'm not. This is not my audience. Like this is not the audience for me, but I know where my audience does exist. Let me go find my audience. And I will tell you, I did indeed find my audience. I did.
I totally did that too. I mean, I went to a high school where like I didn't get asked to prom. People called me a ball buster because I like raised my hand in class.
Yeah.
Like, nothing that should be unfamiliar to anyone who's listened to this podcast. But then I went to like a college where like all the girls were smart. And I was like, oh, I get it. Like this is where I needed to be.
Oh, yeah.
Someplace where like my type of person wasn't automatically excluded for whatever reason.
Exactly.
So finding your audience.
So it was like, okay, all right, we're in business. So it may be a thing of finding your audience. That could be swiping in a different city. Like how willing are you to do like long distance and figure out later? Maybe it's like, okay, what are the activities I am interested in? Like I love trivia. I love photography. I love blah, blah, blah. I need to find wherever that is in either this city or the next and just like put myself there. Because I do believe, and this is something I also say all the time, the love of your life could be 1 or 2 homeboys away. Like, it may not be that guy, but it may be his friend or his friend's friend.
Totally.
And there's talk to a boomer, and that is probably how their love story went. Like, don't be ashamed of it.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
interviewed this woman for my book about friendship, and she lives in a co-housing house in San Francisco. And part of the reason that she loves living there is because she was single when she moved in, and she was like, this is the number one way that I am going to find a boyfriend,
Oh
because
yeah.
I have 9 roommates who have friends who have friends. And like, this is a great way for me to actually find the person. And that's how she found her boyfriend. And she also, I should say, that was not the only reason she loves living with other people, but like connecting yourself to some sort of connecting, like a wheel that then connects you to other people, is a really effective way
Yeah, and
to
sometimes
meet
just
people.
a change of scenery. Like, I'm not saying, oh, move, especially just to find love, but I do have a friend who was like, I'm going to move back home a little bit, get on top of my student loan debt, etc. Ended up meeting
Yeah.
her husband, and I'm like, oh, dang, you're not coming back to DC now, girl. And she's like, no, I'm so sorry. But I was like, all right. Or like, I have another friend who was like, I'm going to swipe on guys in New York, was swiping on guys in New York, had a match, and then he ended up being like the friend of a friend and was in DC one weekend, and they both were like in the
Ah.
same group, and it was like, oh, we were just talking on the apps. That's crazy.
Do you have any difficulty in DC? There's just a lot of people who are moving in and out because of the way that the city works.
Hmm.
Like, do you have any difficulty with like, I don't know if this person's going to be here in a year?
Oh, that's definitely it. I think for people who are more traditional, more like serious, more like relationship escalator, it can be a thing of, okay, what are you doing? What's actually
Right.
happening here? I think one thing that's helpful is when it comes to DC, kind of like it is very transient, but get that guy fresh off the plane. Get him like he just touched down at DCA, like that's when to grab him because they have not been infected by the city yet. Like they are not like get them fresh, get them hot off the plane. If you live in a
And they're
transient
not
city,
and they're not going anywhere for at least like, I don't know, at least a year, if not 2.
exactly.
What about this? Oh wait, I first before I get to the question of if there are more women than men, I am sympathetic to people whose jobs take them to a specific locale and they have very little control over whether they can move there. Like I worked in a town of 30,000 in rural Washington. I had queer colleagues who were like, there is nothing.
Yeah. Were
Like
you
if
reporting
I,
there?
no, I was a professor there.
Mm.
And so like they would talk to people who were prospective professors coming, and they'd say like, real talk, it's hard to not be partnered,
Yeah.
especially as a queer person if you're coming here, because you will need to almost certainly look outside of like our city boundaries in order to find a partner. So like when the pool really does get limited, it can be hard. But that also, maybe there's another person who came to that school or to that job. Like there might be someone.
Yeah. Or I think of friends who are reporters, especially
Yeah.
TV, and they're
Oh,
moving to the middle
yeah.
of nowhere that first job out of college.
Uh-huh.
And it's
Yeah.
hard. But also, I think that's when things like professional organizations come into play. It's like, okay,
Yep.
no one here, but I knew this guy from NABJ back when we were juniors in college because we did a short course together. What's he up to? Like, oh, he's
Yeah.
also in the middle of nowhere somewhere. Like,
Yeah.
maybe we can coordinate that little time we have off because we're both working the holidays and we
Yep.
can figure it out.
Yeah, and have a lot in common in terms of the struggles of that experience. Like there's a huge relatability component there. Okay, what about the idea that there are more women age 41 on the apps than there are men? I do think there are more women on the apps.
Oh, I think, okay, so I think when it comes to the numbers game, a lot of things are at play because I saw this question. I was like, are there more women than men on Earth? And the answer is no. There are technically more
Yeah, no.
men than women on Earth. It's about 50-50.
Yeah.
And like with cities, professional cities, maybe a little more women than men, but it's like, oh, 55% women. Like that's the most it will be. But I will
Yeah.
say, I went to Howard, and it is a place where, historically Black college, and automatically there are more women than men on college campuses. When like
Yeah.
the race factor comes in, there are so many more Black women than men on campuses. I think like the idea, if you included the grad schools, it was more even. If you were just talking undergrad, it was not. Those boys were having the time of their lives. They were running through those dorm rooms. It was sicko
Yeah.
behavior. And it even
It's like being a woman in rural Alaska.
yes, again, the odds are good, but the goods, they can be odd. And so I think that's a factor too. I think sometimes when we're talking about the ratio, we're probably thinking like, oh, socioeconomic status, like education, like, and I think it's perfectly fine to want to have someone who matches with you on those things. But I think that's where the number aspect comes into play. Like, I know apparently there's lots of men in Denver. They call it Minver. And I was actually talking to some friends about this. I was like, what's the black equivalent of Denver? What is the city you go to? And it's just black men everywhere. And they're like, girl, I don't think that exists. I think you're in it. You're in DC. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that that's true too. So much is based on perception. It's like, are there as many men that I feel are someone that I would match with? But
Yeah.
I also like there's something about what happens with divorced men, which is
Mm.
often the men who are filling the 40 and 50-year-old dating pool. And
I also,
they often date younger.
yeah. And I will say, I think women should be open to dating younger more.
My partner is younger than me by not an insignificant amount of time.
I think
And I
it,
think
and people
it's great.
say, especially like if you're a woman who's like high achieving, they say like, it's sort of a thing where, oh, he's younger. He's like, well, of course you'd be doing better than me. Like, you've had more time, whatever. Versus like if you're the same age and you might be doing better, it can cause a little bit of, and you know, it's a maturity thing. But I don't know, maybe, and granted, girl, I don't know what your range is, but I don't know. See what a 32-year-old is up to. They will surprise you. They will surprise you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and the other thing, okay, so this is hetero women out there than men, because I think like if you broaden the aperture here, like, and think about queer men and queer women, like, I think things change as well. Okay, so the last question before getting to advice, this is so good. I'm obsessed with this question. It comes from EK.
My wife was running my cishet sister's Hinge account for 9 months. My wife would manage the matching and witty back and forth and then schedule the first date. Luckily, my wife is hilarious in writing and my sister is hilarious in person, so nobody noticed. They had a standing Sunday evening meeting to talk about the pipeline and walk through the date lineup for the week, names, what the banter was about, etc. When we would tell people about this mutually beneficial arrangement, my wife was having the time of her life, many people thought it was creepy and or disingenuous. I thought this was wild, when they were literally encountering men who were clearly using AI to manage their conversations. Why is it okay for the men to be playing the numbers game and outsourcing the labor, but when the women do it, it's disingenuous? And why are we so reticent to look at modern dating for what it really is? An inside sales pipeline, where you're qualifying leads and booking meetings that ultimately have a low conversion rate of turning into a sale, aka a person you could actually tolerate for more than a first date. I wonder, is the problem the system itself, or is the problem that the conversion rate seems to be getting lower and lower? And thus, you need to be adding more leads to the top of the funnel, which requires so much labor in actuality.
This is such a good question.
EK, love it. I love this perspective. I love this. Like, I don't think it's creepy. Do you think it's creepy?
No, I think people are like, oh, like that's hater. That is so hatery. Like, bye, it's working. Mind your business. Like, sorry you don't like innovation. Like, sorry, we're disruptors. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Move fast and break things.
It reminds me of this conversation that I was having with some people about men who use AI and why there is a tendency to outsource more labor to AI, especially by men in higher positions. This person was talking about her experience in the workplace, and she said that men often she observes men using AI to perform tasks that they see as below them.
And then it's the dating.
But you can see how a man would be like, I don't want to spend the time to like come up with this response. And so they use, and it's basically AI, it's just coming up with lines. Right?
Yeah. I once had a prompt on a dating app where I was like, I want you to spit game at me, hit me with your best like pickup line. no, like it was crickets. It was, and the ones that did, it was not good. I was like, oh, people don't know how to spit game anymore. And this was a little bit before. I have not been on the app since like
Right.
ChatGPT and Claude have become even bigger. It did not
Right.
even cross my mind that someone could be using, like, I think for writing your profile, I can kind of see a little bit like, okay, make it sparkle, make it do the thing, etc. But like to talk to me, that never crossed my mind. Wow.
Man, I feel like AI would make the most like, I don't know, like Amazonish profile, like just everything all the time that would not be interesting or like discernible. Like it would just be like LinkedIn talk. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit why I'm like, ooh, more in person. Like, I want to
Yeah.
go back. I mean, we're too old for this now, but remember like going to the mall and walking around with your friends at the
Yeah. Yeah.
mall and guys would like come
Yeah.
up to you and be like, like, can I get your number? Like at the mall. Like, that's what I want to go back to. I want to go back to like people trying to pick you up at the mall. Not like literally pick you up because that can be a little creepy.
Right. But like in a social situation, like in a public space, first of all, right? Because it's safer in
Yes.
this public space, not necessarily with alcohol like ruining things, right? The
Yes.
mall. Your friends are around to kind of just observe. So it's both more high pressure and less. You get like, there's that frisson of like being able to like look across the room
Yeah,
almost.
like a little
I,
eye contact.
I will say all of this is like very much someone who has not been traumatized by these
That's also true.
experiences.
That is also true.
So, like, no, and I definitely have had traumatizing experiences that I am like covering up in my brain. Like my brain is like, oh yeah, it was amazing to like think that that guy was cute. You know, when there was so many times when you're like, I think that guy is cute, and he won't even
Like,
like me.
please, willing it to existence. Just like,
No, doesn't even know I exist. Like is only looking at the other person. Okay, so but this part about like the why it's disingenuous or like the reticence to look at modern dating. I'm reminded of this conversation I had with the economist Corinne Lowe about how like the value proposition of marriage has it changed so much even in the last 50
yeah.
years, like what it used to mean for a woman to get married in terms of financial security. But our conversations about like why you need to get married have not changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So, like, the value proposition has changed. And so, I think, like, in some ways, dating is exactly what EK lays out. Like, this is what did they call it? A inside sales pipeline where you're qualifying leads and booking meetings. Like, yes,
Yeah.
like being partnered is an economic advantage. And I think like in many cultures, it is still viewed primarily as that. But we have papered over all of that with this, like, you have to find your true match. Like it's all about love, all of these things. And it should be both, right?
Yeah.
But you can treat it as one in the funnel process.
Yeah. It's like you're combining, I think, especially like the letters seem to be from people like in their mid 30s and up. Like once you get to
Yeah.
that point, it's like, no, I do have an established life. There are things I have. Of course, there are things I'm working for. But I forget what I think maybe was it that show? Maybe it was the show The Later Daters. Did you watch that?
No, I love it. What is it about?
So it was Michelle Obama produced it. And it's this show on Netflix that's about people like 55 and up dating. And just like it's very cute. It's also just
But
like
not the Golden Bachelor. It's not like
no, it's not
bullshit
the Golden Bachelor. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like them being
Yeah.
set up on dates, what's working, what's not working. Let me
Yeah.
try this. Like some people have never been married, some people like have. Like it's just it's very cute. And it's also just
Yeah.
a thing of like, oh wow, like life just keeps happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one point that Logan Uri, who was the expert on the show, made was that when you're younger and dating, you're kind of like a startup. We're like, ooh, we're doing this.
Yeah.
But when
Right.
you're older, you're merging a corporation. And you know, if you're in your 30s and 40s, you're not like, ooh, this major merger. We're gonna have to like get the Federal Trade Commission's gonna have to weigh in. It's gonna have to, but it
Yep.
still is like you're two mid-sized businesses who are pretty established, and you're saying, all right, let's do this. Like that's not easy. It's not, and it's
No.
okay to take that into account. It's okay to want it. It's okay to be like, this is the thing I want. I may actually have to work towards it to a degree.
Mhm.
And I think there's a
Yeah,
lot of
or, like
shame around that for some reason.
and having, like, difficult conversations about things like, I have kids and here's how I want the kids to be part of our life and here's how I would like you to be part of that life. Or like, how are we going to think about assets? Because like, I don't know, like even a second relationship, like how are we going to divide our income? Are we going to like, how are we going to account for household expenses? Like all of those things. When you refuse to have those conversations, it also, I think, extends to a refusal to have difficult conversations about a lot of other stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I just like, I think if make it work for you, and if making it work for you means having your sibling's wife handle your handle your account, that's great.
I
I don't
think
know.
I think that's fine. Make her give a toast at the wedding. Like
I know.
that's what
I
that
know.
is. Like, especially if you are able to like keep up and be witty in real life, like that is
Right.
okay. Like it is
Right.
art don't tell him. I don't know. Like it's
Reveal it like I don't know. Reveal it a year
yeah,
in
just be
like a
like,
funny way.
okay, so she was handling it for me. She passed me the alley oop and I dunked the ball.
Yeah, and like I knew immediately that this was fantastic. Like you can soften it a little bit, but I
Especially
do
if
think it's
if especially if the guy you're talking to is like, and I put it in ChatGPT. Like, bye. I used a real person. Bye.
We have one more question, and it's for the Ask Ann Anything. It's a classic. We're talking about where to actually meet people. So this part of the show is just for paid subscribers. So if you want to hear it, head to patreon.com/culturestudy and sign up. Jonquilyn, where can people find you on the internet if they want to hear more from you?
Yes. So you can find me in your podcast feeds on Sundays. Go to Explain It to Me, follow, like, subscribe, leave a review, say how cool I am and how cool the show is. It's a listener call-in show. And so we take your questions and go down rabbit holes. So you can do that. So you can hear a lot more from me. And then everywhere else, I'm Jonquilyn Hill. I'm Jonquilyn Hill on Instagram, on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on Threads. I'm Jonquilyn JQ Hill on TikTok because I had a login issue once. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
I have a bad login name too because of that. So funny. Thank you so much for joining me. This was such a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Culture Study Podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts because we have so many great episodes in the works, and I promise you don't want to miss any of them. If you want to suggest a topic, ask a question about the culture that surrounds you, or submit a question for our subscriber-only advice time segment, go to our Google form at tinyurl.com/culturestudypod or check the show notes for a link. And if you want to support the show and get bonus content, head to patreon.com/culturestudy. It's $5 a month or $50 a year, and you'll get ad-free episodes, an exclusive advice time segment, and weekly discussion threads for each episode. The Culture Study Podcast is produced by me, Anne Helen Peterson, and Melody Rowell. Our music is by Poddington Bear. You can find me on Instagram at Anne Helen Peterson, Melody at Melodious47, and the show at Culture Study Pod.